Hello, Ivy here. This week's podcast is entitled A Report, State of the World's Fathers 2023. This is episode 102 for the SGUK channel. We'll start off with an introduction. A direct quote from the Archewell Foundation's website about the Equimundo organisation, and that Archewell is one of a group of organisations who are providing support to enable Equimundo to achieve its aims and objectives. Equimundo, an organisation working internationally to engage men and boys as allies in gender equality, has released the State of the World's Fathers 2023 report. They conducted research across 17 countries and surveyed thousands of men and women. The 2023 data shows that men are increasingly involved in caregiving and would like to increase their care work at home, although deeply ingrained about social norms and a lack of supportive policies and power structures discourage them from doing so. The report recognises care work as the bedrock of society and calls for continued advancements towards gender equality. It also emphasises the need for media representation that normalises men's caregiving roles. The Archewell Foundation is proud to have supported this report, as well as Equimundo's continued work to promote gender equality around the globe. There are a number of annual reports going back a few years on Equimundo's website, which outlines in detail the work that has taken place in the aim to increase men and boys becoming allies for gender equality. Once again, Archewell is working with organisations who can provide data about the work carried out to date and the outcomes of their policy and strategy year on year. Quantifiable evidence of outcomes and rationale for making plans for the following year. The latest report for 2023 is now published. We will touch upon it to give you an idea of the activity over this last year, and there is also a link at the end of the article where you can download the PDF version of the full report. Or you can read it online if you prefer. In the reference source list, we have also included links to the reports published in recent years. Like this current one, you can access the online version of each report, as well as choose to download the PDF version and read it at your leisure. Let's have a look at the work of Equimundo. The framework for the work of Equimundo is by a thematic area, by audience, by approach, and by region. Thematic area. Equimundo works to achieve gender equality and social justice by transforming intergenerational patterns of harm and promoting patterns of care, empathy, and accountability among boys and men throughout their lives. On the website it states, we do this in 4 areas of work. Equity of care. Globally, women carry out more than 3 times the hands-on care of children and households compared to men. The equal contribution of men to daily care work is necessary for full equality for women, for the well-being of children, for men themselves, and for healthy, just, non-violent societies. In 2011, Equimundo and Sonke Gender Justice co-founded Men Care, a global fatherhood campaign. Now active in more than 50 countries on 5 continents, Men Care promotes men's involvement as equitable, non-violent fathers and caregivers to achieve family well-being, gender equality and better health for mothers, fathers and children. Equimundo's care equity work includes the following. Research. Qualitative and quantitative research on men's caregiving presenting tangible evidence for lawmakers and corporate leaders. Research in care equity includes the International Men and Gender Equality Survey, Images. Images measures men's attitudes and practices, along with women's opinions and reports of men's practices, on a variety of topics related to gender equality, including caregiving. Co-created by Equimundo and the International Centre for Research on Women, ICRW, in brackets, household surveys have been administered in nearly 50 countries. State of the World's Fathers, in brackets, SOWF, close brackets, has been published every 2 years since 2015 and provides up-to-date global data on fatherhood with the aim to reach policymakers, activists, corporate leaders and donors with the data they need to move ahead a global advocacy agenda for involving men and boys as part of the solution to achieve gender equality. Programming and evidence-based programs engage men and women around the world in equitable care work and household dynamics. Program P, named after Padre and Pai, the words for father in Spanish and Portuguese. Program P is a group education methodology that engages men and their partners in equitable caregiving, positive child nurturing, non-violence, and full respect for their female partners. Authored by Men's Care, partners Red de Masculinidad por la Igualdad de Género, apologies for my pronunciation there if it's wrong, Instituto Equimundo, Fundación Contra Salud ME, and Equimundo. Program P has been implemented in more than 25 countries. Journeys of Transformation. First piloted in Rwanda in 2011 with RWAM, REC and Care Rwanda, and since adapted in Latin America and parts of Asia. Journeys of Transformation complements women's economic empowerment initiatives by targeting male partners of female participants to carry out a greater share of care work and support equitable household decision-making. Shifting the narrative. Equimundo aims to shift the narratives in media to promote healthier, more diverse portraits of male caregiving, and to encourage governments and corporations to see men's desires to participate as equal partners in care work by enacting policy and other long-term solutions. Industry, market and brand research. Working with global brands who want to connect their brands to healthy masculinity and promote global goals to uplift men and boys caregiving to support greater women's empowerment. The Men Care 50-50 Commitment. An initiative to ask governments and corporations to commit to accelerating men's uptake of 50% of the unpaid care work by 2030, starting with 50 minutes more care work per day. Each of those subheadings that I've just read out from the website has a link to, on each of those headings, to far more detail This is just an overview, but on the website you can click on the link for each one of those paragraphs that gives you far more detail against each one. In the article and also on the podcast, there are a number of slides, and the first one has got a statement on it underneath all of these subheadings, and it states, globally, women carry out more than 3 times the hands-on care of children and households compared to men. Another slide that you will see is headed Thought Lab, carrying out research on new and emerging themes related to masculinity, social justice and structural inequality. And again, on the website, there is a link for more information on that Thought Lab. The next slide, Prevention of Violence. Working to prevent violence carried out by men and boys. And as you will see, there's a pattern with all of these. There is a link for more information should you wish to find out more on the prevention of violence. Another slide, Gender Socialisation. Promoting environments that support boys and young men to live out diverse, equitable and healthy masculinities. And in trend with all the others, there's a link to more information on the website. Another slide in this section, Equity of Care. Working to achieve the equitable distribution of care. With, a link to more information. This next section now covers the by audience element of the work. In partnership with women's rights and social justice movements, Equimundo's work aims to influence those key institutions in our societies that shape and are shaped by inequitable norms of masculinity and gender inequality. A series of slides to go with this section and this first one, individuals, couples and families. Creating, testing, evaluating and scaling up gender transformative methodologies for key moments in a man's life, childhood, adolescence and parenthood that can be applied in diverse environments where individuals lead their lives. Another slide, media and news. Advocating for the representation of healthy masculinities in popular media. Further slide, health systems. Promoting improved policies and protocols and building the skills of healthcare providers to foster men's involvement in caregiving, while always keeping central women's agency and autonomy and uplifting men's own health seeking. Another slide, schools and educational institutions. Strengthening the capacity and skills of education, social services and childcare providers to support parents to practice nurturing care, equitable gender socialisation, non-violent communication and child rearing. The heading of the next slide is Corporate Brands and Workplaces. Developing research-based solutions for workplace innovation, growth, marketing campaigns and employee satisfaction by engaging men as part of the solution for equitable, violence-free workplaces. And on this particular area of the website, there is a link with this slide and with this image on the website for more information on this aspect. Governments is the heading of the next slide. Building the evidence for effective laws and policies that support and promote gender equality. We now go on to the section by approach. Equimundo aims to achieve our mission working with our partners through 3 overlapping approaches: research, programs, and advocacy. Advocacy, and a slide on this area, 2 links on the website to this under this heading with a lot of information. Again, this is just an overview for the podcast. Advocacy, carrying out global and national level advocacy campaigns that achieve measurable and substantial changes in policies, institutional practices, and social norms to engaging men and boys in gender equality and healthy masculinities. And the 2 links, one is Men Care and the second one is Global Boyhood Initiative. Programs. Another slide. Creating, testing, evaluating and scaling up gender transformative programs that achieve measurable impact in changing norms, attitudes and behaviours of men and boys, as well as the institutional cultures in the spaces where they are socialised. And a link to more information on that section of the website. A research slide. Conducting research with a focus on measuring attitudes, practices, power dynamics, and norms related to masculinities to inform local, national and international policies and programmes, and with its own designated link for more information on the type of research. And as you will see on this website, it's a very, very wide scope indeed. Really impressive. And just as a reminder, each of the above slides and diagrams are all shown on the website with a page or pages for you to access via their various links, with detailed information about an initiative under each of those headings. In this previous slide, there is a video on the website containing more information. In the article, I've put a screenshot of the video cover and I have put the link. On the podcast set of slides, you will see a picture of the image that I did as a screen cap of the cover, but you will be able to access the video either directly from the website or directly from the web link in the article on my website. The video is entitled Global Boyhood Initiative. The next section of this podcast is just a very quick summary about the staff that work at Equimundo. I will give details of the top three senior staff of the organisation, but the website lists all of them, all of the staff that work there, and information about them. What I thought was quite interesting and impressive was that on the website, the staff element was towards the end of all of the headings. The focus is on the work, on the research, on the outcomes, on the policies and strategies that have emerged from those pieces of work, and what they're hoping to do from this current report. And then they mention the staff, not as an afterthought, but just that it's not about hailing, if you like, all of the staff and giving you all their backgrounds, which I will be going on to in a moment with 3 of them, but it's about the work of the organisation, the partnerships, the joint working, the research, outcomes, measurable outcomes, targets, aims and objectives. So we come on to 3 members of staff that run and manage Equimundo. In the article, I noticed on the website that the focus was on the work and the results achieved. Details about the staff were left towards the end, just before information on how to donate, if you so wish. All the staff are listed on the website, but I've chosen to just show details of the top 3, not least because there is so much more that you can explore on this website, particularly previous year's reports. I will quote from the website about the 3 members of staff concerned, and then finish the podcast with the mission, vision, beliefs and history. The board. Gary Barker is the President and CEO of Equimundo. Gary Barker, PhD, has been a global voice in engaging men and boys in advancing gender equality, gender justice, and positive masculinities for 3 decades. He is the CEO and co-founder of Equimundo Centre for Masculinities and Social Justice, formerly Promundo US. A major contributor to international activism on male allyship in gender equality. He was the first executive director of Instituto Promundo in Brazil and led its pioneering work on healthy masculinities. He is co-founder of Men Care, a global campaign in more than 50 countries to promote men's involvement as caregivers, and co-founder of Men Engage, a global alliance of more than 700 NGOs. He co-created the International Men and Gender Equality Survey, Images, the largest survey of men's attitudes and behaviours related to violence, fatherhood and gender equality. He leads Equimundo's State of the World's Fathers Reports, which has become a major advocacy platform for the global care economy. He has coordinated Equimundo's partnerships in conflict-affected settings, including work on community-based trauma support and restorative justice in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Balkans, the US and Brazil. He advises the UN, the World Bank, national governments, international foundations and corporations on strategies to engage men and boys in promoting gender equality. In 2017, he was named by the Apolitical as one of the 20 most influential people in gender policy worldwide. He is an Ashoka Fellow and received the Voices of Solidarity Award from Vital Voices for his work to engage men for gender equality. He holds a PhD in developmental psychology and a research affiliate position at the Centre for Social Sciences, University of Coimbra, Portugal. He lived nearly 20 years in Latin America and is fluent in Spanish and Portuguese. Judy Chu, who's on the board of directors, an ED diploma, is a lecturer in human biology and affiliate of the Clayman Institute for Gender Research at Stanford University, where she teaches a course on boys' psychosocial development. She's also the co-board chair on the board of directors at Equimundo. Judy received her doctorate in human development and psychology at Harvard Graduate School of Education, where she studied boys' relationships and development in early childhood and adolescence with Carol Gilligan. Judy's research highlights boys' relation strengths and how their gender socialization can impact their connections to themselves and to others. She is the author of When Boys Become Boys, Development, Relationships and Masculinity, NYU Press 2014, and co-editor with Niobe Way of Adolescent Boys, Exploring Diverse Cultures of Boyhood, NYU Press, 2004. Judy also developed curricula for the Representation Project's film, The Mask You Live In, and currently serves as chair of Movember Foundation's Global Men's Health Advisory Committee. Ron Legrand is also on the board of directors. He is an attorney, licensed to practice law in Pennsylvania and the District of Columbia, and CEO of the Legrand Group, which provides consulting services with a focus on gender-based violence, legislative affairs, and criminal justice reform. Ron has co-authored a Domestic Violence Awareness Month op-ed on Ebony, appeared on Prince George's County, Maryland cable television programming regarding domestic violence, and was one of several planners and presenters at the recent Band of Brothers event for engaging men in conversations on domestic violence, sexual assault, and healthy masculinity. Ron's career includes 20 years in federal service, including as a special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, Special Narcotics Prosecutor, and counsel to the House Select Committee on Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. Previous experience also includes Chief Investigator and counsel with the Senate Judiciary Committee and counsel to the House Judiciary Committee, during which he served as lead Democratic counsel on the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013, and as lead Democratic counsel on the House Committee on the Judiciary's Over-Criminalization Task Force. Ron has also served as Chief Diversity Officer for the AARP and Nabisco Foods, and Vice President for Public Policy with the National Network to End Domestic Violence. Mission. Equimundo works to achieve gender equality and social justice by transforming intergenerational patterns of harm and promoting patterns of care, empathy, and accountability among boys and men throughout their lives. Vision. All people live in a caring, non-violent, and gender-equitable world. Our beliefs. We believe that male-identified individuals must be active allies in achieving gender equality and full rights for women, girls, and non-binary individuals. And there's a link for more information if you want to find out more. History. Equimundo, Centre for Masculinities and Social Justice, is the next phase of Promundo US, which grew out of Instituto Promundo in Brazil. Building on Instituto Promundo's community-based and evidence-based work to engage men and boys in gender equality with a focus on Brazil and Latin America. Promundo US was established in 2011 as a legally independent organization to partner globally beyond Latin America and in the US. After 10 years at Promundo US, we are reaffirming our mission to take the promise of an intersectional focus on masculinities and social justice to the next level. We changed our name to make clear our focus on masculinities within and always as part of a social justice framework, and to communicate that message to a broader audience of stakeholders. Our previous name meant For the World. Our new name signifies an urgent call for equity and equality in the world. We want our social and gender justice mission to be clear, accessible, and visible, and for that mission to be easily identifiable in our name and in all actions, both in our expanding work in the US and in our international partnerships. It is from this history and trajectory that we turn towards a new phase, building partners in new spaces. In the article, I've listed various ways that you can contact the organisation via their social media accounts. They're all there: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And there's another section in the article, just a heading, but on the website, there's a whole section devoted to it, various ways that you can support the organisation, and links to each of those choices. And there's also an opportunity, should you wish, to sign up to receiving a regular newsletter from the organisation, so you can subscribe for that as well. To bring this podcast to a close, this last section, again, is some direct quotes from the website or the report, the latest report. Research partners. This report would not have been possible without the strong network of research partners. This study and report involved input and collaboration with 17 organisations from around the world. And just as a heads up, because I'm not going to read them all out, all of the people involved in this initiative, in terms of research, any kind of partnership with the organisation, they're all listed. And believe me, it's a very long list and a very impressive list. Support for this report was generously provided by Generation Foundation, Procter & Gamble and the Archewell Foundation. Equimundo also thanks its core support donors, Oak Foundation, Eschneider Giving and Wellspring Philanthropic Fund. I was inspired by just reading about the organisations around the world who took part in the research to produce this report. And of course, so proud to see Archewell Foundation listed as one of the donors. Archewell is mixing and working with good organisations, uplifting communities and providing data at every step of the way, outlining the measurable benefits achieved so far and the targets likely in the future. Proud to see Harry and Meghan and their team working with people who each bring something to the table, and together they are all phenomenal. I will be reading the reports for all the years listed on the website and taking note of the contents of each. Absolutely, they are making a difference in this world. Final words on this podcast is an extract from the report by Seema Bahous, UN Under-Secretary General and Executive Director of UN Women. There is no activity that defines us more as human beings than the care we afford those who need it, whether it in our families, communities, societies or nations. That we value that care so little remains a profound failing in the way we understand the world we live in and manage our affairs. Part of that devaluing of care is very much gendered. It is, as this report argues, reflective of patriarchal norms. It is part of misguided beliefs whereby those things that women more often do are valued and remunerated either less or not at all, compared with those with men more often do. Differences in time spent on unpaid care work drive women's lower workforce participation and their diminished participation in public and political life. Conversely, valuing and supporting care work has the potential to unlock huge gender equality dividends for all. The calls for a fairer, better distribution of the burden of care are long-standing, and there has been progress. Such progress is founded on policy change and an accompanying cultural shift. Men and boys are central to both. For example, in the He for She Alliance, we have consistently called on men to recognise the harmful effects of gender inequality on everyone, men, women, girls and boys alike. We have asked that they be agents for change and reject negative ideas of masculinity. There can be no more harmful an idea that a man has no place in care work. Along with the global women's movement, we need men to move. Men must vote, call and march for high-quality, universal childcare, for workplace policies that support all caregivers, for social protection policies that support all caregivers, whether engaged in formal or informal work, and for equitable, universal and paid parental leave. The pathways to care equality and to gender equality require all of those, and their rewards will be shared by us all also. And to close the podcast, an executive summary quote, literally 4 lines. Imagine a world that puts care at the heart of political priorities and daily lives. A world where all have access to healthcare and education, where men and boys share care equally with women and girls. Parental leave for all parents is the norm, and where every household has affordable quality childcare and support in caring for ageing family members. There is much more from that executive statement, and as you've probably gathered, there's a lot more against each of the sections that I very quickly ran through today, and tried to summarise the good work that's going on involving many, many countries and even more people within each of those countries, providing data to compile various research papers and with plans to form actions out of that. So this was a very quickly put together podcast based on this recent report. My intended podcast for this week will now be a week on Sunday, but just for you have an idea, this is another wonderful initiative, and Archewell Foundation is part of it. So that's it from me for this week. I hope there's enough snippets of information there that you'll want to go and look further. I have endeavoured to put a number of links in the article so you can go straight to the website, direct links to a number of places, and as I said, there is a video link there as well. Hopefully you have found this interesting, and I look forward to your comments as usual following the podcast on Sunday and all of next week. So it's bye from me, bye from Ivy, bye.
A ella le gusta gozar y vacilar, yeah. Con unos traguitos de Fernet, se le da toda la timidez. Pásalo, no solo, tal vez. A ella le gusta gozar y vacilar, yeah. Con unos traguitos de Fernet, se le da toda la timidez. Pásalo, no solo, tal vez. Ella es mi gata, ya. Perrea en la disco como nadie más. Ella es mi gata, yeah. Ella es mi gata, ya. Perrea en la disco como nadie más. Ella es mi gata, yeah. que no pierde ni una. Es de aquí, pero parece de cuna. Pero así no le piche a ninguna. Criminal como una para Dios. Ella sabe que de la disco no la van a quitar. Los fines de semana son tan santos, hay que vacilar. Ready, con ropita cortita para janguear y tirar. De mí se deja llevar, combina la ropa con tu actitud, es que dominas. Chica con esa virtud, rompe bocinas. No hay nadie como tú, como tú, como tú, como tú, ya, ya, ya. Combina la ropa con tu actitud, es que dominas. Chica con esa virtud, rompe bocinas. No hay nadie como tú, como tú, como tú, como tú. Ella es mi gata, ya. Perrea en la disco como nadie más. Ella es mi gata, yeah. Ella es mi gata, ya, ya. Ella es mi gata, ya. Perrea en la disco como nadie más. Ella es mi gata, yeah. Ella es mi gata, ya, ya.
Un traguito de cine pa' la gata en la barra. Te vi por internet en una playa en Nicaragua. Ese buffet sí está gourmet, pero lleno de piraña. El río está movido, que está nada las arañas. Por eso que tú te acercas a mí. Te gusta más que tú, como te hago reír. Me encanta cómo besas, cómo me haces sentir. Eres especial, eres sola para mí. Y si nos vemos en Bahamas, ahí no hay nadie que nos daña. Una coca de madrugada, ya lo saben, tú mi reina y yo tu rey. Estamos listas en Bahamas, aquí hay bellas madrugadas.